What's going on, boys and girls? My name is Munchables, and I'm joined by Saga as we jump into day number 2 now of Forge of Champions this weekend. It's time to jump into our final Saga.
Oh man, who would have thought we got this far with the teams that we actually have lined up for today's matchups? It's so exciting to see just how far all the teams have progressed through the tournament. And now we're at the grand finals. This is where it all starts to matter to see who's going to face off against Fnatic later on today.
Yeah, I mean, we've already had some crazy upsets across the tournament. XL were defeated earlier on.
Even just saying that feels wrong, don't you think? Like, XL lost.
I mean,
what?
XL definitely, how do we say this?
They had a fun game.
They didn't try that hard, and I think they deserved that loss a little bit, and I think they know they deserve that loss a little bit on that one, but it does mean that this end of the bracket now is going to be super interesting. We have some awesome matches coming your way today, as well as our show match at the very end of the day of Fnatic Rising. We'll be taking on the winners, but first up is our finals between Diabolus and MNM Gaming. Both of these teams fairly historic within the UKLC now, and both of them going to be looking to put their mark here on Forge of Champions.
Yeah, and both of them had fairly tough matchups actually yesterday. We might not have expected the competition to ramp up quite to the extent that it actually has, but if you look towards the left side of the bracket, it's 2 zeros all the way down. If you look at the round 2, it's 1-2-1 and then 2 zeros all the way down. Yeah. Then we get to this stage, it's 2-1s. The games are getting much closer. The competition's getting tighter together. And it's great to see some of the teams that were struggling throughout the UKLC split really stepping their game up here as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yesterday the games were super tight between our squads. We had 2-2-1 scorelines at the end of the day. It was a long day of games and some really exciting stuff happened. But we want you guys to let us know who you think is going to be moving forward up against Fnatic later on, so make sure you get in touch on Twitter. But first, let's take a look at some of those highlights. Let's not take a look at some of those highlights. Yeah, if you do want to get in touch with us on Twitter, or I guess we're doing highlights. I'm not sure where we're going with this one. Highlights is the one.
Yeah, let's do the highlights. So really, we just want to talk about the teams that didn't quite make it to this point. So Phelan, they struggled a lot throughout the UKLC season. Then they had that miraculous run through the playoffs. And then when it came into Forge of Champions, we actually had an editorial post just a couple of days ago talking about specifically their matchup against MNM and how they are the only team in the UKLC regular season that has a winning record, that's even won a game against MNM.
At this point, you have to ask, are Phelan still the underdogs in this series, Saga? Talk to me here, because they keep on bringing it to MNM.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, this might just be me, but I think that we can actually start pushing Phelan towards the rivals category for MNM, because considering the fact that their bottom lane in this series actually looked like the better of the 2 bottom lanes throughout a lot of the games, despite the fact that they lost Wisdom, who was one of 2 members in the MVP votings who wasn't an XL or Fnatic member who made it into the top 2 in their respective roles, the other being Chibs in the mid lane. Losing that should have had a lot of impact, but the bottom lane really stepped up for Phelan and made this game incredibly close. And if it weren't for that Baron steal that you just saw on your screen from Chibs, maybe we might be having this conversation the other way around to say maybe we should be considering MNM as underdogs, but they did pull out the victory instead, so commiserations to Phelan, but they put up a damn good fight.
Yeah, and then you can see the other series on your screen as well. Diabolus up against Barrage, and this was a messy series to say the least. Both teams had to pull out absolutely all the stops to get the wins here, and each and every game they were fighting tooth and nail. A singular inch was the difference between these teams.
Yeah, but again, it steps up. Both of these teams are teams that have struggled in the UKLC split, and they're on the side of the bracket, as we said earlier, that had XL on it, and they made it through to the semifinals. And Diabolus did come out on top, but Barrage, for a team that only got 1 singular point in the entire regular split season and haven't really made that much in terms of adjustments to their roster. They've introduced Icebreaker to the top lane, KDO in bottom, and brought Fast-Legged back. And he looked like a completely different player, especially if he gets his hands on that, fast wheels, the Blitzcrank. But It's been such an incredible turnaround for Barrage, and it's a story of Baron steals left, right, and center in this series, and that was really the story of yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of the Barrage increase has been Ferndog stepping on into the roster as well. He's been coaching them through and helping them improve as a team. At the end of the day, though, I don't want to talk too much about Barrage because it was Diabolus that managed to take it, and a lot of it felt like it was down to these micro plays, down to the nitty gritty in the team fights, and Kakan as well. in the top lane had a pretty exceptional weekend, but Fury in that mid lane regularly knew exactly what to do to shut D.Va down.
Yeah, the individual performance from Diabolus did eventually come out on top, and it was quite hard fought, and there was definitely moments where you thought things are getting a bit sketchy. We'll blank the fact that D.Va just backdoored the Nexus on the Kayle in game number 2, but they were able to turn it back around. I want to highlight Dragdar as well as a player who stood out as well as a really great performer as well. Really, everyone on the side of Diabolus stepped up when the pressure was on, and they managed to make it through to this finals to have that chance at getting some revenge against MNM, who they have struggled with in the UKLC summer split.
Yeah, and something I had been saying from the very start of yesterday is one of the things to look out for on that team is the jungle bot duo, right? The Heathen coming in with PFI. PFI had a phenomenal performance across the course of that series, and the Heathen being there to help him roam around the map, going for those duo engages and setting things up. And speaking of PFI, he is actually going to be our unsung hero of yesterday as well. Had a fantastic performance in his series, and one of the games he struggled a little bit more than the other two, but most of the time he had Monkus' number.
Yeah, and especially when we saw him on the rec side, he was starting about 10 kills, and he was carrying towards the mid-late stages of the game. It was a great performance from PFI. Well-deserved unsung hero. But wait, there's more! Because the Twitter vote at LVP UK LOL, hashtag Forge of Champions, throwing that out there, was a tie between two members of Diabolus. And Fury as well, you were just hyping him up. 34% on Twitter for both of these two members of the squad. And you said it's the jungle and bot lane duo. Jungle and mid is pretty close as well.
Yeah, the jungle mid duo certainly worked out. And I mean, there was a lot of focus in that mid lane from PFI across that series as well. Like I was saying, trying to shut D.Va down, because D.Va definitely is one of the stars of that Barrage squad. If you could shut him down, as Diabolus have shown, maybe that is the key to victory against that squad. But before we jump into our first series of the day, don't forget, you guys at home can join the conversation. All of those unsung hero votes are happening on our Twitter, and we want your opinions on all this kind of stuff as well. Make sure that you're getting in touch with us. Use that hashtag Forge of Champions. It's at LVP UK LOL as well if you want to get in touch. Let us know your opinion. Who do you think the favorite is moving into our final today between Diabolus and MNM?
Yeah, because we have a lot of orange and red representation in the finals, with Diabolus up against MNM in round 1 to take on the classic red, the classic orange of Fnatic in the grand finals. And that's a terrifying statement for just about anyone throughout the entirety of this year. Yeah. And I'm not sure it will have changed that much throughout Forge of Champions, as they've just been sat at home watching all these games, assessing their opponents and figuring out exactly how they want to play the game. We haven't heard much at all from the Fnatic Rising lineup, but they've just been working away in secret, slaving away at the back, and they're probably going to have something interesting to bring out to show us against the winner of today's matchup.
Yeah, we'll have to see that later on today when Fnatic Rising step back onto the Rift. But first, we're jumping into our final from the main bracket here. MNM up against Diabolus, and we can take a bit of a deeper dive now into this matchup. Obviously, MNM coming in a little bit stronger, it felt, from yesterday, but honestly, both series very scrappy coming into this one. Saga, can you lend me some insight onto, do you feel like there's a favorite coming into this one? Because it feels very close on paper.
It really does, and a large part of that is because of just how much Diabolus has actually improved over the course of their bootcamp. I don't want to, it's going to sound bad because I've laid this out first, but they did have a mountain to climb, metaphorically and physically as well. You should watch that video on YouTube if you haven't already. It's really good. But at the start of coming into Forge of Champions, they were not looking particularly hot throughout the UKLC split, but they've all stepped up. They've all come together as a team. They've climbed up Snowdon together, most of them, and they've actually made it to the finals against MNM, and I'm really excited to see exactly which of these teams will be able to pull it out.
Well, we'll have to see if they're going to get altitude sickness as we jump into our finals today. First off, let's take a look at our rosters of who's going to be stepping on into this one. On our left side of our screen, you can see Diabolus is going to be Kakan, PFI, Fury, Dragdar, and the Heathen.
And up against them, MNM Gaming, Only Angel, Nolty, Chibs in the mid lane, Yusa, and the bot lane with Shogun.
And honestly, one of the biggest matchups to look at here, for me at least, is up in that top lane. Only Angel against Kakan. Kakan had a very hit and miss series yesterday. On some of the games, he performed amazingly. His Gnar was exceptional, but then in game 2, his Camille really didn't quite hit the mark. Whereas on the other side of things, Only Angel, his Camille is exceptional.
But the Akali, though, from Kakan, that was pretty nasty in game number 3. And yeah, the Camille in the hands of Only Angel definitely looked like a different champion than when Kakan tried his hand at it. And Kakan has typically always been that player that has a lot of impact in team fights with the big AoE ultimates, the Gnars, the Kennons, and that's really what I'm going to be looking for in the draft today.
We'll have to see if he can get his hands on those, but we're jumping into Champion Select now. And I think a lot of the priority here is going to be on that top half of the map for both of these teams. The mid lane is an incredibly important matchup. The jungle, incredibly important matchup. And top lane as well when it comes to the styles of these two teams. Neither of them really focus around that bottom side that much.
No, not particularly, and they do kind of put the Heathen on those more aggressive engage style supports, but he doesn't play the lane too aggressively. Dragdar likes to play the safer picks, the Ezreal, but when it comes to the mid game, that's when they can really turn it on with the big engages with the Nautilus and the Rakan that the Heathen loves so much. And the one thing that we did point out yesterday is MNM with their bans, they are playing on the red side this time, so I'm expecting the Standard, the Syndra, the Yuumi, and the Pantheon to come out, but actually they've switched it up a little bit. That's something that we didn't actually see from them yesterday.
Yeah, the Pantheon ban is definitely going to be up in the air. If MNM don't ban that, the question is, are Diabolus comfortable picking it up? It's not something that we saw out of them yesterday. The respect ban towards Nulti there of the Olaf, but things like the Cassiopeia are also still open here. It's something that Fury absolutely adores to play.
And I'm also interested to see whether it will be the Pantheon or the Yuumi that MNM banned in all of their games yesterday that comes through. I'm expecting it to be that Pantheon, and it could just be throwing down the gauntlet and we say, okay, we think we've figured out Heathen's champion pool. Well, that was neither of those things. So Pantheon is up and available for the first time against MNM. Whether Diabolus might lock that one in, and that could be the deciding factor in that top lane matchup.
Let's see if they're willing to lock in the Pantheon. It's not going to happen. Akali going to be the first pick here, which means Pantheon still available, but Yuumi, as you were saying, also still available here. The Xayah was banned away, but it looks like just focusing on the priority in the bottom lane and the jungle.
So maybe they think, actually, these picks aren't really worth banning because we don't think anyone plays them to the level that on the professional stage, those players who are up at Worlds right now have been banning Pantheon every game. Maybe they think we're not quite as good as them, and maybe the people we're playing against
it's not that hard,
quite on that level. But I mean, nobody seems to be wanting to go for it. Kakan has got the Akali, which he had a great performance on, but it's also something that Fury can play as well. So flexible pick. We saw a little bit of that yesterday.
Yeah.
Not all of it came into fruition, but
we have to talk about these picks for Diabolus, though. These are all super comfort picks, you know. PFI's got his Gragas. It's something he's played a ton and had amazing success on. We've got Dragdar grabbing the Lucian as well. It's something he had a great day on yesterday. It's something we've seen him play 100 times before. And then the Akali, obviously it's a flex. Fury could play it, but Kakan had, like you were saying, game 3 yesterday against Barrage, played out of his mind on that Akali.
He absolutely did, and it's interesting that they've taken the Rakan away here. They banned Xayah themselves, so they didn't want to give that powerful duo over to the Diabolus bot lane. But again, we know that it's a champion that the Heathen plays. They take away one of the champs, and I'm expecting now that the Leone bans come through, the Nautilus as well to follow up with that and really push him to the limits of what can you actually play. Yeah. Again, the Yuumi is still up and available. No one has banned that out, and that has been a permaban for MNM. So if he's able to play that, if that's been something that's been brought up in the boot camp, then maybe it could be a mistake, but they're kind of testing the waters right now. They've got 3 games to play with, and let's see how it plays out.
Yeah, I do like the ban strategy coming out from MNM, though. Locking in the Rakan, then banning basically the 2 counters to Rakan in that lane. The 2 things that are going to give him a really hard time when he's trying to find those engages. The classic Rakan counter was always that Lux support, but Lux support not really anywhere near as strong as it used to be, so
fallen off a lot.
Less available for them. The Cassiopeia ban does finally come out, and that's going to be aimed towards Chibs. There's been a lot of mid lane bans here.
Yeah, the one that stands out specifically was the very first ban in this series is LeBlanc, because every time that wasn't banned yesterday, Chibs picked it up in the first rotation and just dared someone to pick a counter into it. It came through once with Lissandra, but this, it's a similar style. It's a very mobile, potential assassin pick. Actually, it doesn't have that much in terms of targeted abilities either, so it could play into the Akali as well, assuming you can predict where it's going in the Shroud.
If you can hit the shots. If you can hit the shots. I mean, I'm excited to see this. Chibs, incredibly good mechanical player, loves to play these assassins. I haven't seen an Akali in Ahri in competitive in a long time, so cannot wait to see how that's going to work. But also incredibly good against things like the Thresh, like the Gragas, because that targeted CC, especially Gragas's ultimate when he comes into the lane, being able to use the Ahri just to keep yourself completely safe will be fantastic. Now we have to see how Diabolus are going to round out this composition.
Yeah, it's going to be very telling to see whether they decide to go for their top laner or their mid laner here, or it could just be yet another flex that could go in either or. So it's up to MNM to find the answer. What I actually think here with the Ahri as well is what we saw yesterday in the LeBlanc matchup is the Lissandra was able to shove it in and roam around and create picks with the jungler, whereas Orianna, that was the answer when the Lissandra was banned away. Yes, she can shove in the wave against the Lissandra, but she can't do that much in terms of finding picks in the enemy jungle. And it's going to be a similar story here with the Ahri into, if it's the Akali mid lane, she can shove in the lane, but combined with the Lee Sin, they can find picks on PFI on Gragas.
All right, the Aatrox going to be locked on in here, and that's likely going towards the top side of the map for Only Angel. So we have our matchups locked on in. The only question mark remaining is Kakan and Fury could swap at the last second. But I feel like, based on past performance,
I'm not expecting
this is likely the matchup.
Yeah, I think this is probably where it's going to be. Traditionally, Ryze has been a good pick into Ahri. As you say, she's a highly mobile character. And Ryze, you know, a year ago could just press W on you and shut that down, and then Gragas doesn't have to worry about her dashing away from the ult. But now it's slightly trickier because you have to press E first before you press W. So Fury has got to be twice as quick on the buttons to make sure that PFI is having as much impact as he possibly can. And we know that Naughty is a jungler that likes to take over the jungle in terms of invading and stealing away camps. So if PFI is spending a lot of time trying to gank onto the mid lane of Chibs, and Chibs is getting away from it with all the dashes that he has now in his kit, that's just going to open the game up for Naughty to take over like we know he can do.
Yeah, and I love that both Naughty and PFI going for these early game aggressive junglers. Both of these guys love to take away the game, as you said, counter jungling, but PFI loves to gank as well.
Yeah.
We've seen it on this Gragas before. He'll farm a little bit, get level 3, recall, get his boots for his Predator, and then start to make things happen on the map. The question is, what will the answer be from the likes of Diabolus, from the likes of MNM? How are they going to play out this early game?
It's going to be quite interesting to see. Again, we don't see too much play around the bottom lane, but when you have the Thresh locked in specifically with the capability to use that Lantern to bring the jungler in for those surprising ganks, especially if you combine it with the flash forwards, then maybe they can use that as an option now. They have an aggressive champion, which isn't something that Dragdar typically picks up. It's more like, as we said earlier, the Ezreals, the more scaling picks that like to play a little bit safer early on. But with the Lucian, they're going to be looking to bully this Kai'Sa out in the early stages of the game. That could be where PFI is looking to target.
And we've seen that Dragdar loves to be aggressive on this Lucian as well, zipping around these team fights, staying on the very edge of the fight. But it's one of the big important things is he's up against that Rakan, so Lucian can play exceptionally well against the Rakan if you can time the Relentless Pursuits correctly. It's all down to the mechanics in that matchup, though, as we head on to Summoner's Rift for the first game of today. Our final here in the main bracket to decide who will move on to face Fnatic Rising. It's game 1 here between MNM and Diabolus.
And what a game it is shaping up to be. Both of these comps have something that's a little bit different for us. Some bans that we haven't seen before. An Ahri pick for the first time in a long time. With the
KDA Ahri. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely styling, and the minions haven't even spawned yet. Look at him go.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, if the game's not even started and that's already a show for you. Unbelievable. And we got another prestige skin. These guys are...
Wow.
I mean, they are playing on Tournament Realm, so they didn't, you know, you get all of the skins.
Remember, it's just...
So they're not balling that hard.
They're just pretending they're rolling in the dough. I love it.
Yeah. The question is, did Kakan go for the KDA skin as well? The answer is...
He went for standard KDA, not even prestige. Look at that. He did this yesterday as well. Pretty standard. What I actually think is slightly less standard right now, if we look at the summoners discrepancy in the bottom lane, Dragdar and Heathen gone for the double combat summoners, which is, it can be done when you're looking to play aggressively, but that does leave you lacking in the teleport, whereas on the side of MNM, they have a teleport on the Kai'Sa. If she's forced out of lane, she can get back in, but they are lacking in their offensive summoner spells. It's the defensive choice of the heal for Shogun, so that should give them a little bit of more staying power and sustainability in that lane, but when it comes to actually fighting back early on, they might be in a spot of bother.
I like it though when you're playing this classically very aggressive lane of the Lucian Thresh, right? This is one of the old school, I want to kill you at level 2 lanes, right? You get the Thresh level 2 power spike, you get a massive power spike for Lucian as well at level 2. You force for that level 2 fight, and if you can find that hook, if you can find that flay, instantly you can look for that first blood.
And if we're talking about skins as well, look at the synergy in the Diabolus bottom lane. Double high noon. These guys have got it absolutely figured out.
Outstanding performance from
level
everyone
2
involved.
as well. Look at how far they're pushing MNM back.
But really good from MNM to respect this power spike. They know that Thresh Lucian will annihilate you if they get level 2 before you and you allow them to get in that position. But really good job by Diabolus to deny so much CS from Yusa here.
Early shove in from Chibs has occurred, and he's managed to place a fairly deep ward actually into PFI's jungle, so he knows the Raptors have not been cleared out. Doesn't actually have the information that he hasn't yet cleared his red buff, or maybe we might see Nolty look for something a little bit more aggressive, but the ward did just time out, so I don't know whether that is just excellent tracking from the Diabolus guys, or maybe a spot lucky, but PFI dodging out on the vision. MNM still doesn't know exactly where he is, but they're going to have an inkling that since he hasn't cleared the Raptors, he should be on the bottom side of the map. You can see question mark pings in the river already, so they know that there's potential that Gragas might be looking for a play down bottom.
And interesting, he's actually going for the Scuttle Crab here before his red buff. Wanted to clear that one away. And we'll see where PFI is going to go for that one. Does already have his level 3, so you'd expect him to be recalling soonish, so he can go and get his boots and start to use that Predator effectively. He's going to be looking towards his bottom lane, though.
And up on the top side of the map, the ward that was dropped by Kakan will spot out Nolty as he does go for the classic Nolty move of going for an invade. He grouped up with Only Angel as well to make sure he was definitely safe, but he finds an uncleared Gromp and says, yep, I will take that, thank you very much. So slight advantage for Nolty in the classic Nolty fashion of out-farming and farming your opponent's jungle. But PFI hasn't managed to have any sort of impact as of yet. He's managed to clear out the bottom side relatively effectively and dodge out on the vision, but he needs to make it stick.
Hook down onto Shogun, but he will dash away with his life here in the bottom lane. Nice little bit of work there from Yusa as well, just to make sure that that's going to work A-OK. Nolty coming down towards the mid lane, though. Charm will land immediately. Look at the damage from the Electrocute and the Ignite. Flash is already down, and Fury will be dropped.
Ooh, things got a little bit hairy for Nolty as he did get rune prisoned up under the tower, but does manage to get out of the tower range before that final shot can go down. And they knew the whole time that Fury was sat waiting in that bush. There's a ward on the other side. They didn't see him leave and go back in through the jungle entrance, so they knew he was there.
Here we go.
He was just waiting.
Hex splashes forwards. Doesn't quite find his hook, though. He was warded in that bottom lane, to be fair.
Yeah, this is where we say that's where the aggressive discrepancy comes in. Again, it's Nolty. Oh, PFI. Gets his recall cancelled. That feels a little bit bad. But Nolty does like to go for those aggressive invades, whereas PFI, he's the early game impact jungler. He's looking for the ganks, but the MNM bottom lane sniff it out early. It has very little effect. He does get the flash from Yusa, though, and the heal. That's 2 defensive tools down. They are still up and alive in this lane.
Heathen maybe looking for a hook there, or at least to deny the recalls. And I would expect Dragdar will just shove that wave in. Kakan taking a huge amount of damage from these Darkened Blades from Only Angel. And once again, yesterday, Kakan, inconsistent performance in that top lane. Only Angel had 3 pretty tremendous games coming out from him. Even on the loss, he still was a real impact for his team. Kakan was hit or miss, but as the Kali game specifically, it was game 3 yesterday. If you missed it, go back and watch the VODs because he went absolutely insane. I think his final score was like 8-1 and 7, just annihilate.
Yeah, it was really clean. There was that part where he just flashes forwards with the second half of the execute on the ultimate and gets an instant double kill.
Yeah.
It was so fun to watch. So he isn't actually having that much of a terrible time in this matchup. He's down in experience, but he should be able to clean that up as he gets this minion wave out from under his tower. And the farm is relatively close, but Fury is where the pressure point is coming for MNM as Nolty is hovering around looking for a second attempt. Still has his flash available.
Spirit Rush is available for Chibs here. Fury doesn't have flash and he will get hit by the charm. Beautifully done here by the likes of MNM. They don't even have to use any summons.
Yeah, not even needed for Nolty to flash. He was wasn't level 6 either, so he now has the Dragon's Rage available, so he can just utilize both of those tools at once and go for a third repeat gank towards the middle lane.
Fury still doesn't have flash. It's only halfway off cooldown. He is not having a fun time in this mid lane. Nolty can comfortably just camp that lane, and they're getting chips ahead. Like, I know a lot of people watching right now maybe haven't been watching competitive long enough to regularly see Ahri. She's not been meta for a very long time. Ahri will tear a game apart if she can get rolling.
Yeah, especially up against an immobile mage in the mid lane like the Rise, who needs the time to scale up, but he is not being allowed it with MNM just constantly putting pressure down onto this mid lane. They've got incredible vision control as well towards the bottom side of the map. Any potential angle that PFI could come from, he walks over one ward, instantly 4 pings saying, hey, this guy's over here. We know exactly where he is. And already Chibs is looking to roam down and catch him on the rotation.
PFI will get away with a blast cone there, but as you say, just being tracked down so far. Kakan trading with only Angel, but doing a really good job of dodging some of the sweet spots. I say that, actually in a bit of trouble. Ultimate going to come down from the likes of only Angel, but he's trying to finish off Kakan. Darkin Blade flashed away from it. Kakan survives.
Manages to get away from it, but does lose his ultimate in the process, as does only Angel, but the flash now burned for Kakan. And once again in the mid lane, it's the flash ultimate. Too quick for our human eyes to see. It must have been well above 30 FPS, that one, but Nolty.
Here we go, engaging the bottom lane as well. Used to taking damage, but Heathen tanking up the tower here. He's 1 HP, the Ignite. Oh, Dragdar did not need to dash for that one, and now it's all falling apart. MNM are all over this game. PFI's arrived, but does not have anywhere near enough damage. Ignite's there. Spirit Rush comes through. Dragdar dodges away from the knockup, though, and Shogun will just about survive the turret shot. Beautiful skirmishing from MNM.
Absolute domination in the early game from the Marshmallows so far early on. Everything has been going so well. They've been playing around Chibs and Nolty and their combined early game aggression, and they've timed it so well. They've found the pick in the mid lane, and then by the time their bottom lane is looking to be engaged on underneath their own tower, the dive is being threatened. They're already down, they're already rotating, and they're already there.
Kind of greedy from Yusa. He stayed a long time to try and get this turret plate, and he might just have sacrificed his life for it. He's not going to be able to escape this one, and well, all of that work. He did so much there to try and nullify the CS lead that Dragdar had, and it's all been given up.
Yeah, we have seen that once or twice from Yusa before, where he gets a little bit overconfident, we might say, and just sticks around just to try and take that additional turret plate. But then again, it gives him the fast recall, and he's already got the lane swap in the top lane, teleported his way up there, and gets to clean up the next minion wave. So really, despite the fact that he is actually down 20 minion kills in this lane, Dragdar and Heathen have been bullying them around, but it's him who picks up the kill. Yusa didn't actually get any kill credit in the bottom lane, and even though he gets taken down, he does have a little bit of a free laning phase for at least a few seconds before the Diabolus bot lane make their way up there.
Yeah, but it is going to be just that, a few seconds, because Dragdar and the Heathen have arrived now, and they're quite happy to look for that 2v2 once again. But I want to bring everyone's eyes to the inventory of Chibs right now. He already has a...
Thanks, Will.
The timing was impeccable. Shogun is going to get hooked, though, in the river here. Lantern over to Dragdar. They're not going to commit to that one as Nolty is around. But look at that. Luden's Echo at 10 minutes in the game. That is a massive spike very early for this Ahri.
Yeah, it's going to just increase the amount that she's able to shove the waves in and threaten Furies. If he wants to ever leave the lane with his Realm Warp and get involved in the side lane, like has been the story of the MNM mid-jungle duo so far, it's near enough impossible now.
PFI's arrived on the scene as the Herald has been started here by MNM.
We have to bring some attention to just how good MNM have been at controlling the neutral objective so far. It's been a Dragon and the Rift Herald, but they've had all the pieces in place. The rotations came early, forced Diabolus to respond. They've shoved in the lanes, even in lanes where they've had the disadvantage.
Oh, Kakan having a tough time in this trade against Only Angel, and this is the power of that Aatrox pick that they did lock in, and now will dodge away from the sweet spot. Keeps himself alive. The Rift Herald was picked up by Nolty there in the end and immediately just heads towards this mid lane. Don't know if he's going to drop that objective straight away or if they're just going to take a couple of plates via auto attacks.
If there's a jungler, you probably want to drop it early. It would be the Lee Sin, just so it allows you to make those flashy plays
nice
with ward jumps, but Chibs.
Spirit Rush is available here, so Chibs will be safe, but actually gets to just hold on to that.
Oh, Nalty.
Nalty now looking for Kakan in this bottom lane. Only Angel immediately gonna try and force the issue. Kicked on out of his...
Oh, what an escape.
Very nicely done by Kakan.
Kakan, we thought Nalty had chosen his next victim, but Kakan wiggles his way out of that one.
He does, but the question is, how much does he get away with right there? It looks like they're not going to push for any tower plates in the end. PFI going to be able to clear up the minions in the bottom lane. But Chibs right now is just bullying in this mid lane. He's already got 3 of those turret plates. He's looking for a 4th one for the end of things here, but maybe actually could rotate towards the top side of the map. We'll decide to just recall.
Ethan and Shogun are within auto-attacking distance of each other, but no one's pulling the trigger just yet. Okay.
Not like this, Heathen. That was unlucky.
Maybe he expected Shogun to react to and try and dodge, but
yeah, that was
didn't come through.
That was unlucky there. Unfortunately, the hook doesn't quite connect. That would have been a kill, guaranteed as well, pretty much, because I think Yusa's recall had just about finished, so wouldn't have been able to get away. Nalty will be able to grab himself second dragon of the game. It is going to be 2 clouds, fortunately for him.
Okay, PFI was getting a little bit close to comfort for that one. But again, MNM has had good control over these neutral objectives. They're probably going to look to drop the Rift Herald in mid, clean this one up before the tower plates fall. But in yesterday's series, Diabolus, they were the ones controlling the neutral objectives. In the 3 games that they played, they had 12 elemental drakes. And the first 13 minutes of this game, 2 have been picked up for MNM.
They should be able to get
turnaround.
A second charge here onto the tier 2 tower as well. So good little bit of extra damage. All of that gold going towards Chibs, or at least a lot of that gold from the 5 plates. He's going to be feeling very strong as we head towards the mid game. And important to mention that on the side of Fury has the tier, has the lost chapter, but that's going to be all he's got available for him. Had to go for very early Merc Treads as well in that lineup.
Kakan knows something's up. He had to back away from that one.
Chibs might look for a charm.
Oh, he did it anyway!
Very nicely landed. Spirit Rush could finish the job. But he's nervous to go in with PFI there. Obviously.
That's what we talked about, though, in this Arya-Kali matchup is it doesn't matter as long as everything is a skill shot. You can still hit her in the Shroud.
Here we go. Dragdar and Heathen have found themselves in a 2 versus 3. The Lantern's there, but Dragdar actually going to flash the other way. As the Heathen, nice flash to try and keep himself alive. Nalty, though, now has got his eyes set on Dragdar, who's just going to leg it up the lane.
Yusa needs to shove the wave here. Dragdar, if anything, has to recall, but he doesn't get a chance.
Nicely done. Just dodge away from the Sonic Wave, and now only Angel has found himself 2 versus 1. Fury will be here to finish off the kill. Actually, Dragdar gets it in the end. So Fury not resetting his gold either, which could be a good thing.
That felt like such a great idea from Kakan that ended up in just a small amount of int. But it might not be done yet.
Chibs? What? Chibs, I guess, just doesn't want to live anymore. He's going to go down. Jungler's spar away as well as Dragdar finally gets finished off by the likes of Yusa. MNM are going to win out the fight in the end, just about, as they move on towards this turret. Fury and Heathen are here to try and defend 3 versus 2, though.
He has a chance to be the hero. The hook will not land once again. Heathen not finding these blind hooks into the bushes. It's 2 pretty weak members of Diabolus will be enough to shove MNM back away, but I don't want to flame Kakan or anything, because I think it was a great plan. They knew that the dive was potentially coming in, so he teleported to a minion in the backline. Unfortunately, got taken down just off screen in this one, but then it was just an easy chase down on the rest of the members of Diabolus, and he was inches away from landing the final shuriken that would have got the shutdown gold onto Nalty, but didn't quite manage it. And if that one small aspect was there, it would have been a much more even trade, but instead it leaves Diabolus in a 5,000 gold lead at 16 minutes into this game.
Just think how easy that fight is for MNM if Chibs doesn't face check Tri-Brush alone. Like, think how dramatically different that fight turns out if you have your mega carry Ahri available. But most importantly, when we look at the scoreboard, We got to put our eyes on Nolte here on the Lee Sin. We were talking about PFI's Gragas, how aggressive he can be early, how he's going to be charging through this game. Nolte is 6-0-3. He's already got a black cleaver for himself. And he's tearing this apart.
Nolte is on that, look at me, I'm the hyper carry now. Forget about the Ludens on Ari at 10 minutes. Forget about the Oblivion Orb and the Sorcerers and all the Magic Pen, because this Lee Sin is absolutely smacking Diabolus into the ground so far. And that CS lead has closed a little bit. PFI is caught up in that regard, but as for the impact in the fights and across the map, Nolte has just been there every time.
Shogun gets himself to safety with the grand entrance here. Baron won't be on the map for another couple of minutes, but MNM just wanting to finish this tier 1 off the top lane. It's the last turret remaining for them on the tier 1 spectrum.
I'm not sure he wanted to step up. He sort of realized, maybe I don't want to be stood here with Nolte and Shogun behind me with ultimates available on Yusa next to my low health turret. So he backs away, gives that one over to MNM, the third of the game. Hook onto Chibs.
Heathen deciding, and correctly so, I think, not to commit to that one. Although there were 5 members available for Diabolus. That was maybe an opportunity for a fight. The issue is, Ari's just so hard to lock down. Even if you do land that bit of CC, Spirit Rush over the wall and she's gone.
Might work out for them a little bit better if they can find a hook here, though. 4 versus 2 for the time being. Chibs on the side.
Here we go. Chibs has been caught up. Spirit Rush is not going to be enough to keep him alive. Very nice pickup here for Diabolus, and this could be an opportunity.
That's all the lockdown that they needed. Just a flash forward from PFI and a knockback towards the Lucian, who so far...
Oh, another hook lands, this time on to only Angel. Will be able to get away with his life, but at what cost? Shogun walks away as well, ticking down, and Yusa is going to be the first one to grab a kill in this fight. What? Heathen just about can't quite finish it off. Shogun still surviving here. 4 versus 3 now.
Heathen just wipes a bead of sweat from his brow as well. Fury just tries his best to bring someone along to the death chamber with him, but won't be successful in finding it. The one thing that Diabolus does have going for them is all of their kills are on Dragdar, and he is able to find the picks if he is set up for it. Chibs got melted in that pick, and we were just talking about how hard it is to kill the Ahri if you don't lock her down. Didn't matter because he does deal enough damage to shred through the squishy targets, but it isn't so much about the team fights right now. It's just all across the map. MNM is finding advantage after advantage. All 3 Cloud Drakes is only going to accelerate that as they can rotate so much quicker between the lanes to find these picks that they've been getting successfully all game.
MNM right now just wishing it was already preseason with the 3 Cloud Drakes. Think of the ult CDR.
Man.
Think how quickly they could be ulting.
I heard they've changed that.
Spirit Shojin on everyone.
I read there was maybe a PBE thing where they were planning on changing it. It was the same one as that weird new kleptomancy they're talking about, which I don't like.
New keystone every 8 seconds.
They basically, they said they were testing out changing Cloud Drake into Nimbus Cloak, that when you cast your ult, you get a burst of move speed for 3 seconds.
Could be cool, I guess.
So yeah, they said the cooldown thing is a bit obnoxious on certain champions. Like, who would have seen that coming?
Yeah, that's really surprising. A massive cooldown reduction on ultimates. That doesn't sound broken at all. Anyway, for this game, it's just going to be a bit of movement speed for the side of MNM. With 3, though, it's actually a pretty substantial amount. Basically going to grab yourself Moby Boots on everyone. Dragdar taking a massive chunk there from the Orb of Deception. And
that does make it a lot harder as well. Heathen hasn't been able to land the key hooks consistently. He's hit quite a few onto key members, and that's where a lot of the success has come from in these little scrappy fights where Dragdar's been able to pick up the kills. But it's going to be so much harder now with 3 Cloud Drakes. See, Chibs just turns around and walks away, and Heathen loses 80% of his health for even daring to throw a hook there.
So close to finishing that kill off there onto Heathen. That's just from a singular combo without even using the ultimate. The damage...
They're already on... They're 2-manning Baron right now.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Why not, right? Nolte going to be tanking this one up, reducing the armor as well, and Yusa comfortably has the damage to finish this one off now that he's got that Rage Blade for himself.
This is exactly what we've been praising MNM for, is their neutral and vision control so far through this game. And Shogun's just playing spoiler, stopping PFI from getting to the pit, where it's already gone down.
I don't think PFI was even trying to get to the pit. I think he was like, oh, I found Shogun, guys. Let's get a pick.
21 minutes, and they're two-manning Baron with an AD carry who is significantly behind in their matchup.
This is brutal. This is just map dominance from MNM. This isn't even about individual performance in terms of kills, in terms of scoreline. This is about complete map control for the likes of MNM. They have 3 towers to 0. They have 3 Drakes to 0, and now an incredibly early two-man Baron that Diabolus had no clue was happening.
Diabolus is looking to try and 5-man onto Only Angel, but the MNM squad is potentially on the way if they step out a little too early, or they might just lose their mid lane for it.
Everybody just be recalling. Only Angel.
He just knows that
one.
there's potential.
And I mean, that's just, they've just sacrificed an objective there. They didn't pull the trigger on the play, deciding that Only Angel is not the target. And I think realizing that if they commit to that play, so does MNM. And that's going to be a mid lane inhibitor goal.
Instead, it will probably just be all of their outer towers, as they've all now rotated to the top side of the map and left Only Angel alone on the bottom side with no one there to answer. Kakan was already struggling, but now with a Baron buff and a 2-level advantage, Only Angel should have no issues whatsoever in taking over that side lane.
Yusa's going to be happy to just shove these minions in while Only Angel pushes down in the bottom side of the map. And this is a beautiful 1-3-1 type team as well. You've got Ari comfortable in a side lane, Aatrox comfortably in a side lane, and then you can just group your jungle support and AD carry up towards the top side as well.
And again, it's fine for Ari to just shove this far in where, yes, there's inner turrets still available and Ari's hitting the inhibitor turrets, but she has 4 dashes in her kit. She has the flash as well. She has 3 Cloud Drakes. How do you chase that down if you're Diabolus? You have to try and find a flash engage with the Gragas again, but if you commit all of those tools, you're just going to lose every single fight for the next 5 minutes until you have them again.
This is a very difficult situation.
And the Banshees as well.
Yeah, Banshee's now in that inventory. Chibs is only getting stronger, half HP on the inhibitor, and now Kakan going to be targeted. Nolty comes on up just to make sure that this turret can be finished off. The Baron, not too long remaining on that one. I think probably about 20 seconds or something along those lines. Just trying to see what else they can finish off with this buff. Heading towards this mid lane, leaving Yusa up towards the top side alone. He will be able to finish off this tier 2 because of the pressure elsewhere on the map.
Yeah, just really a systematic dismantling of the Diabolus squad as every aspect of the map is getting cleaned up by MNM. 6 turrets now, double the amount that they've had in the past few minutes just with that singular Baron buff that they were able to pick up, and that's a whole lot of damage on the middle inhibitor turret as well. In a split push, there was only 3 members at most pushing on that inner tower, but the defense just isn't there for Diabolus. They have no options whatsoever. And MNM is just continuing to dominate every single objective on the map.
If you're going to try and dominate the early game and win through early game advantages, you get 3 clouds and an ocean drake. Come on! It's so unfair. MNM's just like, what is this, man? But hey, they're doing fine regardless of the drakes. They're doing perfectly well in this game so far. 6 towers now gone down. And well, I mean, coming into this one, I was saying, you know, MNM looked a little bit inconsistent yesterday. They looked messy. They didn't look like they had things quite figured out exactly. They looked like they were relying on mechanical skill more than a game plan. This game has been the utter opposite of that statement.
Yeah, it looks like the coach has been having some words with people who might get a little bit fight happy and just said, look, we're playing clean League of Legends today, boys. I don't want to see mistakes. And so far, there has been few and far between, if any, for MNM. When, yes, they have taken a little bit of the foot off the pedal in terms of finding the picks onto Fury, but we're looking at 25 minutes into the game and he's got a single stack on his Rod of Ages. Fury is not in a good spot, and he's been held down so incredibly well by the duo of Nolty and Chibs.
And just clearing everything away. And one of the most important things is at 26 minutes in the game, it's not just how many towers are taken down in terms of that gold going into the inventory of MNM. It's also, because there are no tier 2 towers, MNM now owns the entire jungle. PFI has no farm whatsoever.
And how does anyone deal with Only Angel when your top, mid, and jungle are all magic damage dealers and he's gone straight for the Maw of Malmortius? You can try and 5-man him, but But he's got 3 Cloud Breaks. He just waddles away.
I think that is the least... that was the most anticlimactic Realm Warp I have ever seen in my life. I mean, 4 men go towards Only Angel. He just like strolls away.
We did watch Jay before use his to Realm Warp back to lane after he died in a solo queue game. So
that's true.
It's top 2 most underwhelming Realm Warp that we've seen today.
That wasn't in the finals of Forge of Champions, was it?
But at least Diabolus is looking to try and make plays. They're not just rolling over and letting MNM take everything off the map. Despite the fact that it looks like that is what's happening, that is not Diabolus' choice. MNM is forcing them into a chokehold, leaving no avenues whatsoever. Every single entrance into the jungle is warded, and it gets cleared out. And then MNM comes straight back with more control wards in their inventory, more blue trinkets. They know exactly where the Diabolus lineup is, and they're leaving no room for error to finding picks.
And now Baron has spawned back onto the map, the Heathen. We're using that lantern just to try and get some kind of vision. PFI drops a ward over just to see if the Baron's already been started, and that's the level of stress that Diabolus are under. Immediately has to drop the ward and see if the Baron has already begun. And MNM, they can just play this cool. Slow as they want, make sure that they have the control, make sure that they have the vision, and then take that objective when the time is right.
Yusa's dodged out of the control ward vision. He's waiting for some CC.
Ooh, nice little sweet spot there, and Yusa comes on into the fight as well. Kakan is going to keep himself alive for now. Jumps away with the shuriken, and will survive the situation. Worth mentioning that both Yusa and Only Angel in that bottom lane both have teleport available. Speak of the devil.
There it is. He's made his way up to the top lane, onto the pink ward, and this time it's a 3-man, but the 4-man stack for Diabolus is in the bottom lane, chasing Only Angel. They're giving this one up. Once again, they get a 5th kill onto Dragdar, but what do they lose for it? It could potentially be their entire base with this Baron buff.
Yeah, and MNM just doing an excellent job of punishing here. Fury will take a bit of damage. Chips just dashes across the map there with the Spirit Rush. And that's the power of this Ahri. Just so safe, especially with that Banshees in the inventory.
Didn't even burn the flash. He was being collapsed on by 3 members, and just a short cooldown ultimate. It's already halfway back up.
Yeah.
So we can just go straight back and do it all over again. And with the Baron buff, it will be even more difficult for Diabolus to try and get the picks.
I love the build coming out from Only Angel as well. He's so difficult to kill, especially for the likes of Akali with the Death Dance and the Maw of Malmortius.
I mean, realistically, you have to commit Dragdar if you want to kill him, but if you commit Dragdar there, you just lose everywhere else on the map because no one else has a kill. No one else is ahead in terms of CS. It is purely Dragdar is the standout now for Diabolus, and if they want a way back into this game, it has to be a pop-off performance from him.
Oh, Kakan wants a 1v1 against Chibs, but he doesn't find it because Spirit Rush is an ability that exists in the game.
It exists in the game every 40 seconds at this point. He's a level 16 Ahri. It's a quarter of the way up again.
Only Angel actually has to flash away to keep himself alive here. But the dragon is on the map, and this is going to be comfortably taken. Now it's an Infernal. They finally get a dragon that can actually do something for them this late in the game.
But that's exactly it. They've committed Dragdar to the top side. It forces the flash of Only Angel, and they will finally get themselves a tower, but they lose the Infernal Drake. And with 4 members building into damage, that's a lot of value from that Drake that finally pops up for MNM.
That was actually both carries sent towards the top side of the map as well. MNM positioning quite aggressively in this mid lane. They might be able to finish this turret off if they really want to stretch for this one, but Only Angel does not have pressure in the top side just yet.
Does still have teleport available though, so if things get a little bit feisty, he can get involved. His ping's coming down towards the bottom side, so it seems like Yusa is just going to make his way down there, and it's just straight back into this 1-3-1. Chibs has got his ultimate back up and ready again, so if any potential hooks come near him, or if Gragas tries to find an engage, he's already out of there.
Has a GA as well, so these fights are just going to get even more difficult to shut him down. And now onto the inhibitors. Now that the Baron's in the inventories, Infernal Drake as well for the extra bit of damage. Only Angel just going to be getting the top side ready while the inhibitor is slowly but surely pushed onto Chibs. Hooked, but will walk away with his life. The Spirit Rush so powerful in this situation. Does go down in the end. Shogun cannot quite save his mid laner here. Now he's going to save the inhibitor.
Just about, but for how long and which one? Because there's still pressure down on the bot and top as well.
Fury just TP to the top side to try and punish only Angel, but the answer from MNM is just take bottom lane inhibitor instead. Dragdar trying to get away with his life. So much damage out of User, can't quite finish the job. Nulty flashes for the kill. Now onto PFI. Heathen kicked on back, and this is going to be more kills into User's pocket. MNM are tearing Diabolus apart. The bottom inhibitor will go down. Only Angel survived the fight in the top side.
And now that's just going to potentially be all 3 inhibitors. Maybe not the top one because they don't have a wave there. But 2 going to be going down, and it looks like the push is going to still be coming in for the final one in the top lane. And Dragdar getting taken down in that fight removes all of Diabolus' success so far in the game. And there's really just nothing left for them to fight back with, and even without Chibs, he's walking back. He doesn't have teleport. They're still feeling confident enough to push for this final inhib.
Yeah.
And Diabolus, they can do nothing but stand and watch.
This has honestly been beautiful from the likes of MNM. They've had a vice-like grip on this game from the very beginning. Nulty started things off strong. Him and Chibs in the mid lane, shutting Fury down, making sure that this rise was a non-factor for the vast majority of the game. And they've taken this one very slow, very steady, 3 towers at a time, 3 inhibitors at a time. They've had complete control of the Dragons and the Baron. Now they've just got a tie bow on it.
Yeah, I was impressed with Diabolus in yesterday's series that over the course of the 3 games, including the game where they lost, they'd picked up 12 Drakes for themselves, but MNM might even just be looking to match that in 2 if the next game is anything similar to this, as they've already got 5. The Infernal Drake will be spawning very soon, and Baron as well in another minute and 20 seconds. They're 3rd of the game, and that will easily be enough for them to get onto those Nexus towers and start pushing to finish.
Well, Nulty right now wants his perfect game for himself. 7-0-5 on the Lee Sin. Shogun as well, yet to die. We'll see if either of them can grab themselves that perfect KDA as we head into the last couple of minutes of this game. Or so it feels like. Diabolus maybe can pull something off, but Chips. Oh my goodness. What do you even do when they've got that much damage on an assassin? Kakan jumps into his shroud just to try and stay alive. Knockup comes down and the Heathen will drop. MNM closing their jaws tight down on this game. On to the Nexus towers they go, kicking back these final members as Fury will drop. Another kill for only Angel. Another kill for MNM. And now onto these towers. Kakan trying to escape with the perfect execution. Nulty walks away, still alive, still a perfect score, and a beautiful masterclass of a game coming out from MNM.
4 members of MNM level 17 plus is just way too much for Diabolus to handle, and they didn't even need that 3rd Baron there, or the Elder Drake with all the elementals they stacked up through the game. It was just purely item gold lead and just confidence that was all they needed to shove into that base, find that pick onto PFI. Chibs did that one by himself. He didn't need any backup, just assassinating the Gragas, and that was really the go button for them to push in and end that game in such a dominating fashion.
That was a beautiful game, honestly. I'm not used to this kind of game in the UKC, and I'm used to bloodbaths, I'm used to clown fiestas. This was immaculate from MNM. Very safe gameplay, very calculated, just taking those objectives, and only when you have the real opportunity.
And if it weren't for Dragdar getting kills, maybe this could have been the perfect game, because he got the only tower in the top lane as well, and all of the kills on the side of Diabolus throughout all the skirmishing. He was the only real silver lining for the Diabolus squad, so it's something that they have to build across. But gonna say it again, they have a mountain to climb if they want to get their way back into this series. It's such a good analogy. Come on, a mountain to climb.
But MNM, right?
They climbed the mountain.
Yeah, they did, but MNM feeling full Ben Nevis right now as they get one up in this series. Diabolus starting to fall behind. We'll see if they can even things up after the break. But first, check out these messages.